On.
Coming to you live from deep within a mouse-filled radioactive wasteland. We are the survivors of the alt-right Keck Populix. The few, the brave, the bitchy, once more wading into battle against the red pill culty hordes with I Escape from the Red Pill Cult. Rantzerker number 247. I am your host, Alison, and with me is Brian, the indefatigable. That sounds bad. You know what I meant, right? Okay. And also the indomitable Karen, which I'm pretty sure I pronounced correctly. So here we are. All right, Brian, did you want to explain what we're doing today?
Yeah.
Wait, I'm still here, right? Yes, I am.
Yeah, you're still there. Yes. So we got this article and I assume an accompanying video that came out with it.
It seems like a very short video, but yes.
Yeah, it's a short video. It's like 3 minutes long.
Mm-hmm. And I'm sure we'll be able to stretch it into the full 2 hours though.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know that we definitely have the ability to extend time, shall we say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, we have this video and this article from The Guardian that I guess is a warning to
us all.
Anyone who is like a normie blue-pilled person that the manosphere is a cult and it came for this young man and he just barely managed to escape
with his life,
the skin of his teeth, because he almost ended up criticizing women or something. So
cue the banjos.
Close. It was a close one. I saw, that's all I can say.
This kid almost ended up in a pot.
Yeah. Yep. And apparently, this guy is claiming that he was a part of the manosphere. And now that he is on the other side, he is blowing the whistle on the whole thing. The whole operation is over, guys. We're exposed. We're exposed and we're done. So put a fork in us. We're cooked.
Yeah. Yeah. So we are actually reading our epitaph now, or our obituary.
Yeah.
Since we are so cooked.
This is the dead internet theory is real, but we're the only people who died.
Yeah, so we're speaking to you from the great beyond.
Okay.
Summarily destroyed. But
just give me one second.
Yeah.
Okay, enough. It's nowhere near dinner time.
She disagrees. She would like to have a word with the manager.
It's daylight saving time, okay? But she usually eats at 4. It only feels like 3. No.
Okay. So she thinks it's time to eat because she thinks it's 4. No, but it's 2 there.
Yeah. So it only feels like 3 right now. Yeah.
Okay. Well, shush, dog.
Be quiet.
Right.
Alison told you so.
Yes, I did. All right. So, how? Okay, just to preface this, like, where do we exist within the manosphere? Are we? I guess for the purposes of these
we're
people,
manosphere adjacent.
Yeah, manosphere, which might as well make us just basically
we're like
Hitler adjacent.
I mean, yes, Alison. Like I'm we can do this dance of definitions all day, but in the eyes of the Guardian, yes, we are the manosphere. We are just as much the manosphere as Jordan Peterson, as Nick Fuentes, as Donald Trump Jr., as Steven Crowder. Like, you notice I'm naming a bunch of not manosphere people that are in the manosphere.
Right.
That's how manosphere we are, and this is what they believe. And I'm not being funny. This is the truth. Anyone who disagrees with them is manosphere, basically. Gamergate is manosphere. So, yes.
Well, I mean, it's weird because, like, I interviewed Roosh V kind of after he'd left the pickup artist thing behind, right, and decided that he actually does want to settle down and have a family, right? I interviewed Sasha Daygame after he kind of left the whole, pickup artist thing behind. I interview these guys, right? And basically it's kind of like interviewing Gilgamesh after his first adventure with Enkidu, right? It's like they've matured and they've decided that, like, just banging chicks isn't really the end all be all of everything.
Gilgamesh
And
in his Enkidu era.
yeah, and it's like, okay, so this is before they slew the bull of heaven, but after they freaking, after Gilgamesh turned down Vishnu, the goddess who goes through men like who's can't chews up men like freaking confetti, and then like they don't much care whether she like swallows them or spits them out, right?
Probably
She
literally, considering this is Sumerian mythology.
Yeah, well, I mean, basically, she had a history of like seducing mortal men, right? And then when she got tired of them, would like turn them into like frogs and like lizards and bacteria and shit, right?
As you do.
Yeah, as you do when you tire of a man and he no longer pleases you.
The spiders with you.
So yeah, no, and so Gilgamesh was just like, yeah, bitch, I don't think so.
Astounding.
I'm 2/3 God, 1/3 man, and you can't seduce me. Yeah. And I think that's where men need to get.
But the fractions there are a little question.
I'm pretty sure they did not quite get the whole genetics thing. Right.
Well, I mean, it was mythology. Presumably there was a Norse god that was born of 9 tree roots. So
it was one woman who had sex with 2 gods.
Wouldn't okay, so that okay, all right, there's no questioning. All right, so I just want to say, yeah, we're moving back into the topic. Okay. It's a little bit of a rough transition to go from Sumerian mythology to manosphere.
Well, no, but here's the thing, it's not. It's really not.
Okay, all right.
It's a tale, to quote frickin' Beauty and the Beast. It's a tale as old as time. Men begin in a certain way, their masculinity is a certain way, and then over time and experience, right, and dealing with the hardships of the world and learning from their mistakes, they become mature males.
Can I just point out this kid looks like his lips are permanently hermetically sealed to the teacher's ass. He looks like a Kinner.
He looks like Harry Sisson.
I don't think that's a real person.
Oh, you think it's AI generated? You might be right. You probably are. But yeah, he looks like, I'm going to get my 5 minutes of fame. I'm a teenager who was lured into the manosphere.
Maybe not. This is not the guy from the video, so this might be a different whistleblower if that's the guy. But shall we?
I wandered into a bunch of websites that gave me information that wasn't approved of by the school board of the UK. Gosh golly, I escaped a cult when I turned my computer off for the day. Okay, all right. So everyone, if you want to send a message at any point throughout the show, feedthebadger.com/justthetip. Very best way to do that. And yeah, let's just do it. Let's just start.
All right, we're going to get into the article. I'm going to read it, right?
Yes.
Okay,
yeah,
so this is from The Guardian, and it is entitled, I'm a teenager who was lured into the manosphere. Here's how to reach young men like me. Masculinity is almost always presented as toxic on my feed, but we need constructive alternatives to give hope to those who feel lost.
Okay.
So far, so
just
good.
So you guys know, yeah, it's okay.
But that's how they laid the trap, right? Like
yeah,
that's the peanut butter in the fucking mouse trap. Yeah.
So what he's saying is that there is an overwhelming amount of anti-male sentiment that he is being subjected to. Yeah. Are we going to hold on to that at all and ask ourselves, if we're so concerned about the manosphere, shouldn't we have a little bit of space to be concerned about the femosphere, since the femosphere dwarfs the manosphere like a yurt? Mount Everest dwarfs a yurt.
Well, okay, the manosphere only essentially exists online, right? The femosphere is institutionalized in every freaking university and college in
gigantic paper
in the West.
trail. billions, if not trillions of dollars.
Yeah.
And so can we address the fact that taxpayers are paying billions of dollars to teach this kid to hate himself?
Yeah.
Or is that are we gonna not do that?
That's too much to ask, right?
It's too much to ask. Yeah.
This subtitle is basically, it is the peanut butter in the mousetrap,
Okay.
right? And so it is the Trojan horse, right? Because you look at it and there's really nothing objectionable about it, except it's the Guardian. So you know what's coming afterwards is going to be like a complete bait and switch. Actually, men should learn how to cry more, but not bother women.
Yeah, but they have nothing to cry about, and if they think they do, they're toxic.
Yeah, and if they cry to their wives, or if they cry to their wives or girlfriends, then it's emotional labor.
Okay. All right, let's.
If you judged modern boyhood from the headlines, you'd think we were broken. Radicalized, misogynistic, angry. But as a teenage boy myself, I don't see a generation of lost boys around me. I see young men trying to make sense of a world that seems apathetic to our voices.
Seems?
I would say openly hostile.
Openly
apathetic,
hostile.
at least, suggests indifference.
We're already sort of moving away from that mousetrap there. Have you noticed that? Now we're at we start with hostile. Now we're at apathetic.
Yeah.
And okay. All right. So we're already
screaming at somebody to shut up is not apathetic.
No.
You can just tune them out. You can just put on your noise canceling headphones and not listen.
Okay.
You don't need to bitch them out for it. And tell them that like they have nothing to complain about. You're privileged, so shut the fuck up.
Yeah. I've actually been having conversations with Grok about the size of these relative factors. I had a discussion about, actually, you know what? I'll save that. It'll be essentially looking at misandry versus misogyny and how they define the two. And it was interesting, but I'll save that for a little bit later. Okay. Can you read into the middle of this next paragraph so we have some time to respond?
All right. I'd be the first to admit that there are serious issues facing young men my age. I've experienced some of them firsthand. Between the ages of 12 and 14, I was drawn into harmful online communities promising me money, meaning, and manhood. Muscular, wealthy men parading through Dubai, draped in designer labels and flanked by beautiful women, flooded my feed.
Okay.
That's Andrew Tate.
Or Saudi princes.
I don't think Saudi princes are manosphere, though, but maybe.
No,
maybe
of course not. Maybe they count, because
maybe it's anywhere on the internet where there's a man and he's not being stomped on or ridiculed or dressed down by a woman. Maybe that's the manosphere.
Tithing to feminism, that's the manosphere. Yeah, essentially that's what
the manosphere is a video of Space Marines saying "For the Emperor." That's the manosphere.
Yeah, and it's also anywhere where a boy has a positive feeling about his masculinity. That's the manosphere. Yeah. God forbid, because that's sexism.
The manosphere is a video about a guy showing off the guns he just got on the range.
I mean, and it's like, okay, so you have the aspirational, right? And everybody knows that they're not going to be driving a Lamborghini through Dubai with like 16 bitches following them, right?
And a leopard.
And a pet cheetah or whatever, right?
Yeah.
But what those aspirational figures do is it gives you something that you're never going to achieve, but you could achieve parts of it. You could achieve pieces of it. You could actually get a six-pack maybe. And maybe not guns on the range, but guns, on your arms, right? And you could maybe score one chick.
Yeah.
Right.
You find attractive. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's like, all of these things, like including looks maxing and things like that a lot of young men are into these days, not a lot, but like a minority of young men are into, right, can be really unhealthy, just like it can be for women. Like when you take the plastic surgery just that much too far. But when you actually look at it, right, there is an aspiration. No kid, no little boy playing with a He-Man doll thought he was ever going to have that body when he grew up. Right? Yeah. Like and no little kid reading a Superman comic book, right? Young little kid, little boy, right? Thought, like if I just try hard enough, I'll be able to fly.
For sure.
So it's like, but it's aspirational.
Exactly.
And yeah, like Spider-Man's not a freaking a realistic male figure, role model for young men, but it's better than nothing.
Do some more.
All right. Should I continue, or Alison stepped away?
Yeah, I just have to deal with I accidentally put the cat bird entertainment device up too loud. So I'm sure that we're going to get some from the sound autist eventually, like, where are the birds coming from? So I had to turn it down. But anyway, I've derailed it enough. Let's keep going.
All right.
All right. They said there was no excuse for the rest of us not to be in their position too, and offered what they claimed was a blueprint to get us there. Misogyny was rife in these communities, as was political extremism. There it is. Yeah. There it is.
Really, that was quite a quick snap on that mousetrap. Yep. Misogyny was rife in these communities, as was political extremism. Okay, well, as much as I know people were concerned about AI, I asked Grok, and I actually ask like multiple AIs. I don't just ask one, and to analyze the level of misandry versus misogyny generally in the online world. I think it would surprise no one to find out that misandry is a much bigger problem. It's phenomenally bigger. There is a lot more casual misandry. Yeah. And there's a lot more institutional misandry. There's a lot more media amplified misandry. There's a lot more misandry that is paid for by the taxpayer for being promoted. So it is a big, misandry is a big business. And then when you turn around and they say there's misogyny in these spaces, what do you mean by misogyny? What do you mean by that? Because I actually asked Grok, how do men and women complain about each other on Twitter? And Twitter is like the dread space of the Twitter is manosphere central, according to these people, right? Yeah. Or Exeter. So I asked them, and men complain about things like hypergamy, which is a behavior which is actually empirically founded. Like it is empirically correct, verified pattern of behavior in women, and men complain about that, right? They complain about I don't even they complain about being labeled toxic, and I mean, yeah, well, I mean, I'm just using the word.
I don't even think they complain about hypergamy. They complain about hypergamy within the context of affirmative action for women.
Yeah, and they also complain about hypergamy in terms of, what they're expected to, like the whole I am the table nonsense, and what they're expected to achieve as men.
Yeah, because all of these artificially propped up women, right, are pricing themselves out of the fucking dating market, right?
Yeah. But my overall point is this, and I want to get to it before you continue. The overall point that I'm making is that men complain about verified behaviors that women engage in. They complain about verified institutional discrimination, like affirmative action. They complain about media promotion of misandry, like toxic masculinity. What women are complaining about is men. Full stop. Yeah. Well, they call it patriarchy or male privilege or male entitlement, none of which is empirically sound statements about men's behavior. I want to repeat that. These are not empirically sound observations about men's behavior. These are false impressions constructed by a narrative. And they instead of complaining about, like I said, a verifiable behavior that women engage in, they complain about the existence of men. What does patriarchy mean? What does male privilege mean? What does male entitlement mean? These are considered to be emergent properties of men. Somehow women don't have privilege. Women aren't entitled to things. These are problems that only men do. And they keep increasing the number of things that they tag as just a male issue, like manspreading, mansplaining, man-interrupting, man-slamming. So they take something that is a antisocial or just rude behavior, they slap a male label on it and say it's an emergent property of being a man or having masculinity. And this is persistent. And I asked, and so online spaces, and Grok did say there is a fringe that engages in the same kind of misogyny that the average misandrist engages in. But for the most part, that's what's happening. Men are complaining about verified behaviors in women, verified institutional practices that discriminate against them, verified institutional narratives that are anti-male, and women are complaining about men and blaming men, right?
Yep.
That's what's happening. Okay, so don't give me this crap. Yeah, you can find like sub communities with misogyny that's comparable to the overwhelming misandry, but they're still small and fringe.
Yeah.
And if you don't like, it's okay. Let's continue.
I just want to add something to that too. First of all, I've noticed that misandry is getting more and more mainstream usage. And that this is good because it means people are paying attention. I mean, normies are using the word now, right? And that's great. I mean, like, you remember that used to come up, it may still come up as a misspelled word. If you put it in like a document, it used to come up with a line under it to say that it was misspelled. So that was one thing I wanted to say, is that it almost doesn't matter that they're trying to like run cover for this, because I think the normies are like using the word more and they're recognizing it. The other thing too is that if you know you're lying when you accuse men of being misogynist for basically anything that they do, like Alison said, simply having criticisms of behavior that is done by a woman.
I can
but couldn't that also be seen as misandry too? Because it is hurtful to accuse someone of hate when they don't have hate in them.
Well,
it is like intended to hurt them and cause them to change.
Bad. Yeah, particularly bad. They engage in something that everybody engages in, but when they do it, it's particularly bad. Yeah, or we're just going to ignore the fact that everybody else also engages in it too, right?
Everybody else is women.
Yeah. So, it's infuriating in that way, because that in itself is, taking a behavior that's widespread among both groups, right? And then, like, okay, femme spreading, right, on the subway. Okay, well, she has bags and she puts them on the seats next to her. Well, she's taking up 3 seats. I mean, she's keeping her knees together, right? Or crossing her legs, but she's still taking up 3 seats. She's still femme spreading. She's still taking up more than her fair share of public space, right? So, and it's because she doesn't want to put her bags on the floor because her bags are like too nice to put on the floor, right? And it's just like, no, this is one of those things that like everybody takes up a little bit of extra space, depending on whatever, and everybody's a little inconsiderate. But when women do it, it's because they have good reason. And when men do it, it's because they're asserting their dominance over women.
Oh, it gets even worse. Because I asked Grok to do the analysis, although I do have a familiarity of what Grok is talking about. And I said, okay, let's look at the rate of misandry versus misogyny in boys versus girls, young men versus young women. And it came back with a YouGov survey and another survey that said there is a something, or what was 10? I think it was 10 to 15% misogyny rate among young men, and a 15 to 25, I believe, percent misandry rating, or a number of 15 to 25% of young women express misandrous sentiments.
Yeah.
10 to 15% of young men express misogynist sentiments. And then I asked Grok, okay, how do they define misogyny, or how do they define hostile sexism? This is what it was showing. And I found out that they define hostile sexism as any criticism of feminism's policies around affirmative action and toxic masculinity. So if young men are saying,
object to misandry, I object to misandry,
they object
that makes them misogynist.
Discrimination against men, or if they object to a narrative that labels young men as toxic, that is included.
Misogyny
is included in the statistic on the rate of misogyny. And I said to Grok, hostile sexism. So not just benevolent sexism, which is somehow also misogyny. Remember that test that we found that if you think a woman is morally superior to a man, that's benevolent sexism that harms women most.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, this was just hostile sexism. So I asked Grok, okay, could you estimate how much hostile sexism that young men express that is directly in relation to policies that are discriminating against them and narratives that frame them as toxic? And Grok said, based on these additional studies, 80% of 80% of the so-called hostile sexism, and again, that's just all they're capturing is criticism and pushback against feminists' advocacy or feminist policies that discriminate against boys and call them toxic. 80% of hostile sexism is in boys
against women.
Against women is that. Okay. You get rid of it, and then you end up with something like 2 to 5% hostile sexism among young men, compared to 15 to 25% hostile sexism among young women. And here we are, yet another article. Oh boy, we got to talk about the hostile sexism of young men.
Yep.
Yeah, when it's zero, we'll still have to talk about the potential of hostile sexism increasing in the future. We are, and it'll be something like 75% of young men or young women are virulently, hostilely sexist towards men. But we still can't we're not going to do anything about that. We got to deal with the tiny minority of young men who express any kind of hostility, which, if you think about it, is really astounding at that point, that it's only 2 to 5%.
Yeah.
Like, as a woman, I'm like looking at this, and sometimes there are days I wake up and I'm like, I don't know how men can still stand women.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how they must. I mean, if there ever was evidence of men's benevolence, it is living through this era and continuing to tolerate a lot of this. And I'm like, I just, okay. So once again, we are going to focus on the hostile sexism, the minority in young men. Okay. Next paragraph.
All right. I got a super chat, and then I'm going to read the next paragraph. So Dean Domino gives us $1.99. Thank you, Dean. And says, anything the cathedral doesn't like equals manosphere.
Yep.
Yes, that's right. Because men are the enemy, and there is a reason for that. But anyway, I want these issues to be called out, and I'm glad they're being actively discussed in the media. In fact, reading nuanced discussion, what?
The issue of what? That
of
you
misogyny
have
being rife in these communities and political extremism.
But also the misogyny isn't qualified. Like, it isn't qualified. He doesn't explain what it is. And
no, he just said no. Why?
Muscular,
he
wealthy
said misogyny.
men in Dubai.
Didn't your emotions just go in overdrive?
Just because there are muscular, wealthy men in Dubai does not mean Okay, I'm sorry.
No, he's saying that
I'm going to meditate.
Painting a picture of muscular, wealthy men with women flanked by beautiful women saying there's no excuse for the rest of us not to be in their position. And then immediately goes, they offer a blueprint, and then immediately goes to misogyny was rife in these communities, as was political extremism. So, not necessarily saying that the muscular guy in Dubai with the women did this, but that the community that surrounded that person apparently was full of misogynists and political extremists, and we don't have to explain anymore. We've said
No.
that, that's enough. Get
Yeah.
upset. That's what here's your emotional trigger, and now we'll move on, because the one thing that you really don't want in your society are misogynist and politically extreme men, apparently. Which is
Yeah.
all they don't have to explain it. They don't have to give you any evidence, no receipts necessary. Just know that there are men somewhere in the world, in your country, maybe in your town, maybe they go to your school, maybe they're at your job, and they are misogynist and or politically extreme. And that is enough. Be afraid. That's what this is. Remember who reads this. Just think about the audience that this is aimed at. It's not men, by the way.
Unless it's some like freaking scrawny white dude who like punches a freaking black woman, black woman who voted for Trump with brass knuckles, right? From Rose City Antifa.
I want these issues to be called out, and I'm glad they're being actively discussed in the media. In fact, reading nuanced discussion in the press, which confronted these spaces as problematic aspects, helped me escape the handcuffs binding me to these role models. It made me consider how they were profiting from polarization and insecurity.
And everyone clapped.
There's a lot packed in there.
Yeah,
I don't know if you guys want to say anything about this paragraph.
I can understand the whole idea of profiting from this, because like many problems, when you profit from a problem, from fixing a problem, and we've seen this with homelessness in California. We poured $25 billion into the problem over the last 10 years, into nonprofits designed to help the homeless, right? And somehow our homeless population has doubled, right? Well, it's because these nonprofits are actually, like, lots of people are profiting from them, because they're earning huge salaries, the people who run these things, right? And once the homelessness problem is solved, their grant money is gone. Right? And so I can really understand being suspicious of the profit motive. Right? And when you have somebody like Andrew Tate who's making a ton of money on this kind of thing, right? I can understand being a little bit skeptical, right, of whether he's really trying to solve the problem. So,
well, I doubt he really is, but regardless, the way that they're framing this is,
well, it's like feminism too, right? Like feminism. It's like you remember in the Red Pill trailer, right? And I don't think this clip made it into the movie, right? But there was this woman, and she was like, "Oh yeah, no, women are more oppressed by the patriarchy is even stronger today than it was, 50 years ago," right? Well, that's what they have to say. Otherwise, the grant money dries up.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, let's continue.
All right. No, well, I want to say something about this paragraph. So first of all, when he says nuanced discussion, so this sentence, in fact, reading nuanced discussion in the press, which confronted these spaces, problematic aspects, helped me escape the handcuffs binding me to these role models. I doubt there's anything nuanced about it, because most these people don't actually try to understand what the other side is even saying. They just implicate. And then it says it may be considered how they were profiting from polarization and insecurity. So what does that mean? In my opinion, I'll tell you what it means. It means there were people who didn't like the way things are when the feminists ran everything, like controlled the entire narrative. And there were people who were like, no, I don't think this is true. No, I don't think you'd be shitting on men. No, I think fathers are important. No, I think like we shouldn't be butchering, boys' penises. No, I don't think this. These are all the men's issues I don't like. And they're like, you're creating division. So what they're
Yep.
saying is you should stay in your place and deal with things as they are. In fact, you should be happy that we haven't made things worse. And we don't like that you have something to say. I mean, that's what I'm getting from this.
Yeah.
Polarization is not coming from the manosphere. The manosphere is like, it's big. I mean, and I will include us in the manosphere, like it or not, because that's what they would do. Anyone who is speaking on behalf of men in any degree, from the intactivists and the bloody men, the Jordan Petersons and the self-help people, to the Chris Williamsons and Modern Wisdom, to fucking like whoever, it doesn't even matter, to the men's rights activists, to Paul Elam, to Janice P. Mango, to Tom Golden. All of those people, in their opinion, are creating polarization when the only thing they're really doing is they're criticizing the status quo. And they're saying, no, status quo, good, shut up and get in your corner.
Yeah, well, they're saying that they're creating another side. So if we actually shut up and we just let feminists get on with it, then there would be no polarization, except, they are constructing an enemy out of the entirety of the male half of the human race. But that's not polarization. Polarization only occurs when you stand up and say, hey, maybe we shouldn't be directing war propaganda at our sons. That's when polarization starts. Didn't you know that? Like that, when you start to have another side pushing back. But unless you'd
here's the thing too, right? Like they often criticize, men's rights groups and stuff. Oh, they're just reactionaries. Yeah. What are they reacting to? Right? And calling them like as if reactionary is like some kind of horrible thing. Well, no, if you're reacting to somebody punching you in the face, right? That's justified, right? It's the person who punched you in the face who's in the wrong.
Exactly. So when they say you're creating polarization, they're saying that as they're punching you in the face for like trying to fight back or defend yourself.
Or simply walk away.
Or even just say, please stop.
That's polarization, Brian. Complete. Exactly. And there's nothing but complete submission and not acknowledging the fact that feminism is saying that half the human race is an enemy. We can't acknowledge that. If we acknowledge that, we are constructing the polarization.
Yeah, and that's the seam of pure
evil. Hypocrisy.
Pure freaking metal, right? Through that stone that is feminism. That's the seam, right? The seam, the mother lode, right? The mother lode throughout feminism since its inception has been the demonization of men and the accusation of men having basically engaged in a vast conspiracy against women, right? To keep them down. And you see it through once you open your eyes to that, right? From even before the Declaration of Sentiments, all the way back to Mary Wollstonecraft and before, right? When you actually look at it and you see that the fundamental, the kernel, right, that resides at the center of every single aspect of feminism, right, is that men have conspired against women in order to harm them for men's benefit, and that this has been happening, right, since before we were walking on two legs.
Yep.
Okay. Before we wore clothes, before we could use tools, men were dominating women for men's own benefit, and they were conspiring with each other to do it, right? And which is when you think about it, it's like the biggest insult towards women in history, right? Like, oh yeah, no, you've been like oppressed for like 2 million years and you haven't figured out how to like unoppress yourselves? Like, what the fuck, right? But okay, this is what it is. It's this grand conspiracy theory, right? An indictment against men They indicted the ham sandwich that is men, and everybody just assumed men were guilty, right? Because women have this fucking huge power of social manipulation, right, at their fingertips, and they were able to convince everybody to go along with it. And this is why they're literally saying that women are worse off now. Women are more oppressed now than they were 150 years ago. And people will believe it.
Yep.
All right, next paragraph.
All right, next paragraph. Yet I strongly believe we need to reframe how we talk about these issues, not as innately evil flaws in the young male demographic, but as an expression of uncertainty. Last week, I was sitting on the bus home from school, avoiding my mock GCSE revision by scrolling through TikTok.
Okay. Just, you have to stop at the next between paragraphs just so we can respond, just because if you read too much, it'll end up screwing with the short system.
Okay.
Yet I strongly believe we need to reframe how we talk about these issues, not as inherently evil flaws in the young male
demographic.
So we were already talking about young male demographic being toxic.
I want to beat this young man. I want to beat this young man. I want to beat him, right? Because you know what? Then he'll learn what misandry is, right? Because you know what? You shouldn't be complaining, young man. You shouldn't be complaining about anything, right? Oh, you shouldn't be defending yourself as not having inherently evil flaws. Don't defend yourself. Don't defend your sex. You don't deserve it.
Yeah. But also, I just want to point out that haven't we had this discussion about the inherent flaws of young men and all men for 50 years now? So
way more than that.
Yeah, way more than that. The innately evil
like
flaws in the young male demographic.
Women have never, ever, ever been hearing only good things about men. Look at the Epic of Gilgamesh, for fuck's sake, the world's oldest living document. Okay? Right? And what did it talk about? It talked about a young, brash man with too much power, with no ability to handle it wisely.
No responsibility, no sense of
responsibility, no sense of loyalty and reciprocal duty to those under his. He figured they were under his rule, not under his care, right? Mm-hmm. And he went through a journey and came out the other side a wise and just king, right? And that has always been this has always been the story of masculinity all through the entire body of literature throughout the world. The story of the brash, immature, selfish, young, upstart asshole, right? Who becomes through the trials and tribulations and many adventures and many hardships, becomes the wise and just leader, right? That is
Ground
what that
zero,
is.
Yeah. Yes, right? I know. We've always had a discussion about how men are supposed to step up and sacrifice and become wiser and learn to control themselves for the benefit of others. We've always had that. We've always had an inherent recognition
and
of
disapproval of those who don't do that. Those
and the flaws of men.
Fail. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Let's try to get to the next paragraph. I know, Brian, that's not your fault.
It's okay.
Okay.
Last week I was sitting on the bus home from school, avoiding my mock GCSE revision by scrolling through TikTok. A video appeared on my feed surrounding a gender-related debate, and the creator, a young woman not much older than myself, used the term toxic masculinity.
Wow, you never heard about it before? This is sudden? Okay.
All right, I'll keep going.
Sure.
Toxic for those. I'm sorry. Should I?
For those who are unfamiliar.
For those who are unfamiliar. But this is to remind you guys that this isn't aimed at people who actually understand these things. These are for normies that don't understand these things in the hopes that they will take hold of the narrative. And in a way, I want to say I think this is it's a good sign that this kind of content is out there, because it means that that the people at the Guardian and other outlets are really worried. They're
Well,
worried that they have lost men, and
doing
they're
damage
desperately
control.
trying to get them back.
But for those who,
And I think
for,
that this is just one of the approaches. They've tried shame. Hell, they still do it. They're still doing it in this article.
yeah,
Okay.
But they're just
but
trying
for
to be a little bit
the,
less, I don't know, like maybe they're changing the tone of the shame, but I do think that they're afraid.
but
So,
for those who are unfamiliar, really,
yeah.
is there
For those,
anybody who's unfamiliar?
yeah, really. For those who are unfamiliar, toxic
Okay, here.
masculinity has become a catch-all term for exaggerated negative forms of masculinity that can put pressure on men and boys to behave in certain ways. These issues are certainly real, and I didn't disagree with the creator's point.
Okay. Toxic masculinity. From the moment I was like, oh, so you mean the phrase toxic masculinity can force men to behave? It's no, he means toxic masculinity can. I actually did an analysis. There is someone who looked into what creates suicide, or what, like the negative thought spiral that is a main contributing factor to suicidal ideation. And I'm blanking on his name, but it was really interesting work. And he found that suicidal and depressed people have an issue with seeing themselves as a burden on others. And in fact, that narrative is very complicit with actually going through the act of committing suicide. And
There was actually, I don't know if you've ever watched the channel Diary of a CEO, but he interviewed a psychologist who deals with men, and like, I don't agree with everything this guy says, right? This psychologist, but one thing that he did say was that in his clinical practice, he deals with a lot of suicidal young men, and they're not depressed.
Thomas Joyner was the name of the guy that I'm talking about. And
but these guys are not depressed. He says they're not depressed. They are making a rational decision that life is not worth living.
Mm.
And I've said this before, it's not a mental health crisis. The suicide rate in men is not necessary. This is men taking a rational look, an objective look at their lives, and deciding that their lives are not worth living.
Okay.
And often it is because they don't want to be a burden on others.
Yeah. So no, I agree. And that's something that we don't talk about. And I actually did a little bit of an analysis on this. So Thomas Joyner is a psychologist who originally identified perceived burdensomeness, often expressed as burden narratives and personal stories or accounts, as a key factor linked to suicidal ideation, which is strongly tied to depression and suicide. Okay, so this forms the core part of his interpersonal theory of suicide. Okay, so people who, and specifically men, who feel depressed and also suicidal, and maybe not the two things are not necessarily completely overlapping, feel like they are a burden on others.
Well, they're situationally depressed.
What does toxic masculinity say about men as a whole? It essentially says that men are a burden on women and society.
Well, they have no positive impact.
Yeah, they're a burden because they cause emotional labor. They cause man-interrupting, man-spreading, mansplaining. They cause male entitlement that snatches the very achievement and success from women, and opportunities from women. And everywhere from every angle, men are told they are the problem and they are essentially a parasite on society.
Yeah.
So this toxic masculinity narrative is complicit in the suicide rate for men. Yeah. And I actually looked at it and I asked Grok, is it possible that the overwhelming narrative, and I actually asked Grok to estimate how much of this kind of male burdensome narrative men are exposed to daily? He said 20 to 30 instances of being referred to as a burden. Every single man has experienced 20 to 30 instances of being referred to as a burden every day. And I asked, okay, so if that's the case, then could this be an explanation why there are men who commit suicide without having any apparent mental health issues prior to that. Because essentially what happens is they experience a job loss, or more likely they experience a problem with a relationship. They are abused in that relationship, or the relationship ends, and then they just have a cascading failure. Like it just, that's it. And it's because they just, like, if you subject an entire population to 20 to 30 burdensome narratives a day, and then when they experience something that takes away whatever is in their life that is holding that back, what ends up happening? The dam breaks and they become swept away. And I asked, so could this be explained why you have these sudden suicides? And it said yes. I mean, if you take that for what it is, Grok.
Yeah, well, Grok, any AI will want to say things, will want to be highly agreeable with you.
Actually, I've tested Grok.
You have to prime it to, like.
No, I do prime it. I do prime it.
Don't instantly agree with me.
Yeah, I know. I prime it. But also Grok doesn't do that anymore. I know that a lot of other AIs do that, but I have gotten into extended testing Grok. I have gotten into extended debates with it to try to get it to say, like, or agree with me on a point. And it continues to, if it considers that point to be incorrect, it will continue to push its interpretation.
Push back,
and so I in some areas Grok is not, like, do not ask it for fiction analysis. It will make shit up like a motherfucker. But in terms of anything that can be tested for empirical accuracy, Grok is pretty good. It's actually better than Perplexity, because I've also dealt with Perplexity, and Perplexity actually cited a retracted paper and science that had been superseded by something newer and better science. And I was like, what the hell are you doing? And then it flagged me. It said, I'm going to be reporting you because blah, blah, blah. I'm like, what? It was your mistake. Anyway.
All right.
Okay.
So back to the article. However, it did make me pause and reflect. I realized watching this video how desensitized I had become to seeing those two words paired together on my feed, such that they seemed intertwined, like fast food and hard work or bright idea.
Yeah, that was the point.
Yeah.
They don't have any other version of masculinity but a toxic one, because they don't want to recognize that masculinity has any validity, because if they did, they would have to question their war against it.
Yep.
Like, yes, I mean, I every time I've heard people bring up toxic masculinity, I say, well, what is positive masculinity? And they never have an answer.
Oh,
they have to appeal to traditional masculinity, which they don't regard as legitimate. So
yeah,
traditional masculinity is toxic masculinity.
Yeah, well,
okay.
when I asked,
all kinds of modern masculinity is also toxic masculinity.
Yeah, traditional masculinity. There is no positive masculinity unless it is just purely in service to women.
Well,
and even then, only in service to certain women. Some of the time,
in certain contexts, yeah.
Yes, in certain contexts.
The frequency with which a male user encounters the phrase toxic masculinity on X depends on several factors: their followed accounts, engagement patterns, whatever. Let me get to the. Okay, so assumptions. A typical male user scrolls the feed for 20. Okay. Okay. All right. So casual scroller likely encounters, just follows sports news, minimal gender topic engagement, and daily time on X, 15 to 20 minutes, will encounter it 0 to 1 time, but still will encounter it. Okay, and if you are a male user who's seeking out any kind of information on anything related to gender or sex or achievement, you're not going to be in that category. We're just talking sports and news, no gender engagement. Yeah. Active engager, follows opinion leaders, interacts with debates. Every 25 to 30 minutes, they will see the phrase 1 to 3 times. High exposure, follows feminist progressive accounts, searches trends. Every 30 minutes, they will see it 3 to 5 plus times.
Yeah.
So you are like, men are being inundated with that phrase.
Yeah. Yeah.
That automatic emotional association with masculinity is now
next
toxic.
Next paragraph.
Yes,
Yeah,
please.
next paragraph.
All right. I sat for the entire 20 minutes of that bus journey trying to remember the last time I saw masculinity appear on my feed without being coupled with toxic. I thought and thought and thought some more. I could not do it. Yeah, that's because that's the only way it's presented. It's either toxic masculinity, traditional masculinity, hegemonic masculinity. But toxic masculinity is the most like popular version, but they're all the same thing.
Yeah.
So, can society expect anything other than uncertainty when masculinity, one of the very essences of our existence, is almost always presented as toxic? When I was engrossed in the manosphere, this type of messaging would only have alienated me further from mainstream society, driving me closer to the influencers claiming that it was biased against
Okay, then
young
you were
men.
never in the manosphere, because you would have still seen it.
Well, no, no, he was he's okay. This type of messaging would only have alienated me further from mainstream society, driving me closer to the influencers claiming that it was biased against young men. Okay, yeah, no, so that's why he ended up in the manosphere.
Yeah, but he's
right?
Okay.
And
well, the timing is weird. When I was engrossed in the manosphere, this type of messaging would only have alienated me further. So he went into the manosphere not knowing about toxic masculinity. Like this,
apparently,
the
well, I mean,
causality here is bullshit.
he's an extremely young man, and maybe
No, and also
Well, he is supposedly young because he's getting his
it,
GCSE, which means he's in like middle school or something,
which
or
means
high
he's
school.
exposed to people like Laura Bates.
Well,
the
but
feminist.
but you know, maybe he just never thought about it. Maybe he just never thought about it. Right? And the only reason he even thought about it, okay, because hear me out. Maybe the only reason he thought about it was because he fell into the manosphere or some fringe of the manosphere, some you know, surface level, you know, pocket of the manosphere, and started entertaining discussion, started being interested in masculinity, right? So maybe he just, all the toxic masculinity rhetoric, you know, he was just like, it was just not on his radar before that, right? But then he's going in as a young man, a pubescent young man, okay, an adolescent young man, right, trying to figure out what it is to be a man, right? Falls into the manosphere, right? And then he's like, yeah, no, if I hadn't escaped the manosphere, if I had still been, you know, if I hadn't escaped, if I had still been immersed in it, then it would have alienated me further from the mainstream. All of this talk in the mainstream about toxic masculinity. That maybe he didn't notice. Maybe he didn't notice it before. This is an article. Articles have word limits, Alison.
Yeah, this is not. I can't. I press X to doubt any of this is real.
Well,
but regardless,
you guys might be spurting out on this paragraph too much.
Driving me closer to the influencers claiming. So all the bias against young men in the public sphere would drive young men to influencers that actually say or actually point out that there's bias against young men and it's bad. Like that. This is where it all falls apart. This is where the entirety of the progressive belief system around this issue falls apart. How do we get men and boys to stop talking about how we're beating on them and tainting their gender identity? How do we get them to shut up about it without actually changing what we're doing? Okay, next paragraph.
All right, I got a super chat from Dean Domino for $4.99. Thank you, Dean. And he says he was in the manosphere. He briefly scrolled past a picture that wasn't crapping on men one time.
Yeah, I think that's probably accurate.
Okay.
He saw
No.
a TikTok in which a father was building a cardboard or a fort for his son or his son or the daughter. It was like, oh my God, am I in the manosphere? There's a
Yeah, right.
positive depiction of a man.
There were a bunch of men rescuing a dog from a flood.
Oh
Is
my
this the
God, am I in the
manosphere?
manosphere? Is
Like
this
the meme, the anime guy with the butterfly. Is this the manosphere? Okay. I think the potency of the manosphere would be crushed if there were constructive alternatives for young men to engage with. Some boys I know feel alienated from education because the system simply isn't providing that alternative. You guys want to say something to that, or should I keep going?
Just keep going.
Yeah.
All right. Knowledge of financial education, entrepreneurship, and fitness doesn't have to stay trapped inside controversial podcasts by influencers peddling a paid course, the manosphere's main form of revenue. The curriculum could offer healthier versions of some of that too.
Well, yeah, it really should, right? Financial literacy should be taught in high school. You have no idea how many young people I have worked with, high school age, right? These are people, these are hostesses and expos at the restaurants where I worked, right? Who it's their first job, they're still in high school, right? They don't know what a credit rating is. They don't know why you need one, and they don't know how to get one and how to maintain one, right? They have no fucking clue, right? What they do know is how to design a poster for an activist event, because that's what they learned in career and life management, which is a mandatory course, right? They don't understand how to balance a budget. They don't understand that, yes, if you get a credit card, right? If you're lucky enough to get one, right? Pay it down to zero every month. Don't spend a penny that you don't actually have. Pay it down to zero every month, right? Then they'll offer to raise your credit limit, right? And take that offer as long as you can be disciplined with your credit card, right? Take that offer because your credit rating is balanced by is scored by how much credit you have available versus how much you're using. And if you have like $12,000 available and you're not actually carrying any balance, right? You got a great credit score right there, right? And you're going to need that if you want to get a car loan or buy a house, right? Like this is simple fucking stuff, right? Easy peasy stuff. Career and life management, they're like, oh yeah, no, just make your own designer license plate for this course, right? Where we're not teaching you how to drive.
Okay, next paragraph.
No. Okay. At the core of this profit-generating machine behind, he loves mentioning how these guys make money doing this. It's like the main condemning thing, even though like that only happens if someone chooses to pay them. So, yeah. But anyway.
Yeah,
at the core of this profit, and it's not like feminism doesn't make a shit ton of money, but it's just off the government and taxpayers and NGOs. So I guess it's okay when the government just goes around, when
the government
whole like
steals
marketing
your money
to people and selling them a product to just take money from people, whether they like it or not, and then just pour it back into this bullshit.
No, that's
ideology.
much more noble. Much more.
Yeah,
noble.
but
it's way more
think
noble.
that we got the essence of this article. Somebody wants to also make money off of this. They feel like it's being stolen because these young men, they shouldn't be listening to whoever these people are about masculinity. They should be listening to feminists about masculinity and giving feminists their money.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean this thing is almost over, but anyway. At the core of this profit-generating machine, behind the superficial lifestyles, the harmful views on women, the rebellion against the education system, there sits a feature that made a younger me and several of my friends and peers now dive deeply into the clutch of these influencers.
This isn't written like a 14-year-old boy. This is ridiculous.
I'm sure it was written by a grown woman.
Or AI.
Probably Laura Bates.
Yeah. Oh God, yeah. Oh, you boys shouldn't go to Andrew Tate. You should go to me, Laura Bates. Don't mind me putting my fingers there.
Speaking of weird predatory women, I watched Witches the other day. You guys ever see the movie Witches from the
I have.
the 90s with Not the remake with Anne Hathaway. I didn't watch that. It was terrible. I mean, the original one with
with
Angelica Houston. Yeah.
and Jack Nicholson.
No.
No,
You're thinking
okay,
about the
no,
Witches of Eastwick. No.
yeah,
No,
This
no,
is
no. Mitchell.
it's just called Witches. It's based on a Roald Dahl book. It's like you know, the
oh,
guy who wrote like the Chocolate Factory and some of the other weird books that he
James
wrote.
and the Giant Peach and
Yeah. Charlie
the
and the
big
Chocolate
friendly,
Factory.
the
Yeah, he wrote.
BFG, Big Friendly Giant. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, good movie and the good female villains. The Witches. So anyway, where was I? They made us feel listened to, heard, and considered. Of course, in reality, that's nothing more than a facade, a dodgy sales tactic. Society isn't going to help you. You're a slave to the system, but will help you escape.
Yeah, well,
Okay, so I just want to point out again, because I think that when we respond to like the claims that this guy's making about like how this is a big profit generating machine, our brains want to say this is about Andrew Tate. It's not. I clicked on the link for influencers, and it's like I said, it's anyone who wants to talk to men. And if you're
mhm.
telling me that Andrew Tate and Jordan Peterson and Aiden Ross and Joe Rogan and any of those people, Tom Golden, Paul Elam, anyone, if you are telling me that those people are all just in it for the money and they're all the same, then I got a bridge that I want to sell you, because this is
Yeah.
just a way of essentially making those avenues, let's say, toxic, so that nobody
Yeah.
wants to even like entertain that, and they do it by attaching people like Jordan Peterson to Andrew Tate or Aiden Ross or whoever,
Yeah.
that's it. So I just want to make sure we understand that if you're in the chat saying something about Tate, you're not looking at this correctly, because it's not about him. If Tate exploded tomorrow in a shower of gore and he was dead and gone and his business collapsed, guess what? These articles will still exist and they'd be about somebody else. So it wouldn't matter. It would not
Yeah.
matter who it is. It's what they're doing is they're trying to corral men away from anything that looks like it's not where they want them to be, which is right in line here. Be good little, wage slaves and give your tax money to us so that we can keep funneling it into the education system, so that we can continue to propagandize women and children against you for the rest of your life. And that's what they're doing. So I'm just saying this is important, because if you get caught up in the Andrew Tate thing, you're losing. You're losing big, okay? But anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, I think everybody there knows that this is
Yeah.
just, that particular figure is just a stand-in for anyone who opposes the idea that men are toxic. Like anybody who says, no, actually that narrative is wrong and it's bad and it's hurtful and it's harmful. And the people who express it don't have your best interests in mind, and you should stop listening to them.
Okay.
That's what the problem is. Okay.
Yes. I'm going to step away for a second here because my dog is going crazy, and it does feel like 4:00 now. So
yeah. Okay. Go feed your dog.
All right. Go feed the dog. All right. So anyway, we've got to the stage where a 60-second social media advert can make a young man feel more validated than an entire education system. I see that as a pretty drastic problem. When society is not providing a listening ear, an algorithm will fill the void. When I was younger, I felt seen by influencers, but not by the institutions I'm growing up in. I have peers that still feel the same way.
Okay, so how did you get seen by the institution now? This is my question.
I think he's asking the institutions to step in and do something, but they're not going to.
Yeah.
your cries fall on deaf ears, my friend.
Sweet summer child.
Yeah, like this is the thing. Like, I don't know if this is let's assume for a moment this is actually a genuine cry for help. For the schools and the institutions and his government to acknowledge and try to address men's issues. No, like it's not happening. Your cries will fall on deaf ears. And if anything, if you are someone who is legitimately asking this question, guess what? The Guardian is using your article to corral more men into the system that hates them. And they're going to use this because what they want is not for you to get better. They don't want to fix your problems. They just want you to shut up and get in line, because that's what this is.
Okay.
Anyway, Andrew Tate cares. School doesn't. You need to realize that, mate. Those are the words of a close friend of mine in a late-night online video game lobby. You might hear his words as simply teenage rebellion or malicious naivete, but I heard the desperation. I heard the cry for help. Naivete. Naivety?
Malicious
I don't know.
Naivete. That is like an oxymoron. Malicious naivete?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. No, this is okay. Andrew Tate cares. School doesn't. All right. Well, where are you going to go for that? Recognizing that the institution is overwhelmingly anti-male. Where are we going to go now? Where's this article going to go? I am a flutter.
Yeah. It doesn't feel like a coincidence that he was speaking to in an online space. John Harris recently pointed to the dire state of youth club funding, with 1,200 centers closing between 2010 and 2023. My town youth group met the same fate, closing when it could no longer afford the hire of a local hall. What?
I'm saying it's an ad for state-funded youth groups.
Feminist.
I mean, I think that he probably wants youth clubs, but guess what? That was the first thing to go, man. Like what you're basically saying is, man, men need their own spaces. Well, guess who's been saying that shit for 10 years?
And
guess why it hasn't happened yet? Even when they do get a space, women take it over, no matter what it is. Your video game lobby isn't safe, dude. So it doesn't matter. You're basically, again, you're saying something obvious, and you're not asking, well, dude, if this is so obvious, why don't we have it? It's almost like because it's not allowed. Yeah,
it's because somebody is shutting them down. Okay, I wonder who that could be.
Yeah.
Okay. Meanwhile, in PSHE lessons at my co-ed school, myself and other boys in my class felt uncomfortable discussing our issues and worries, scared of risking a judgmental look from a girl or even worse, social alienation. There's great social costs of potentially appearing weaker, softer, less masculine in front of your peers. That's not the issue. You're blaming like looking weaker for your fear of being judged by a girl.
Girls?
It's women. It's not other men.
So he's afraid of appearing weaker and less masculine in front of a girl. Like that's the thing that I noticed about other things that come from the UK. Like there was a quote unquote comedian who wrote a book, How Not to Be a Boy, I think it was. And he described all of the fear of judgment from a bunch of women in his life. And then he pivoted to, but the patriarchy. I'm like, no. Are you telling me your mom is the patriarchy? Your wife is the patriarchy? Your aunt is the patriarchy? Like, you're not afraid of men. You're afraid of women. When we talk about anecdotes about your life, it's fear of women that's keeping you quiet, which is why men need their own damn spaces.
Yep.
But of course, all feminism can do is shut men's spaces down.
Or colonize them.
It can't actually create a space where men can grow, men can be men can cooperate in the way that men do, that men can engage in risk. It doesn't know how to create those spaces. It's impossible. And it cannot.
What's the first male space that they killed? What's the first male space that feminists killed? Or at least that was killed?
Probably schools.
I would say it was the home.
Oh yeah, you're right. Well, okay, that's sort of that is definitely a depressing thought. Okay, let's keep going.
There was that thing about coffee houses back in the 1700s.
Yeah, maybe it was the coffee house is the first thing that feminists killed. Okay.
All right,
next paragraph.
All right, next thing. You want to shill the super chow? Nobody sends super chows. We got
okay, guys, send super chows in. You're unsettling Brian. Feed the badger.
No, I'm just saying you usually say something about it by the
feedthebadger.com/just the tip for those comments. Send something in. Send it in. We want to hear from you in our special way.
Stop sniffing.
I can recall many PSHE sessions spent discussing female body image and objectification. Rightfully so. But I struggle to say the same for male body image. the impossible standard set by colossal lumps of muscle on your feeds, quite a few of which are in fact are injecting themselves with steroids when the camera is packed away. I can speak to this. So like I was planning on making a video about this because I've been going to the gym with Lindsay, and Lindsay used to be a big gym rat back in the day. And she pointed out that she'd never seen so many like men on gear, not just like at the gym, because there's plenty of guys at the gym, but like young guys taking gear on steroids, right? And we watched videos of guys that like they overdo it. They get like these weird like hormonal reactions, acne on their back and stuff. It's really gross.
Yep.
And they're not doing it in many cases because of some kind of toxically masculine need to like compete with other men, or because of this kind of feminist argument of unrealistic beauty standards. They're doing it because they think that's what women want.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So they're acting on
it's like the
hypergamy is they're reacting to hypergamy basically.
Well, it's the only
it's
axis.
not what
it's the
they think women want. It is what women want.
Well, it's the only axis on which they can compete, right? Because if you have the quintuple six formula, right? Like she's a solid 6 and she demands 6 feet 6 inches, a 6-pack, and 6 figures, right? Well, you might not be able to get the 6 figures. You probably you're gonna need an implant to get the 6 inches if you're unfortunate, right? And all you can really do is do the 6-pack, right? There's nothing you can do about the 6 feet. So it's like you basically it's like this looks maxing is actually it's still fringe, but for men it's still quite fringe.
Yeah, it's
but
fringe. Yeah, but it's growing.
It's growing, and it's because this is the only axis on which these men can attract women, right? Because women's standards are way too high. She's a solid 6, and she's basically saying in her dating profile, I won't settle for less than 6, 6, 6, 6, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
guys, I mean, like that's not even going into men who are getting leg extension surgery. And again, this is still fringe, but it does happen. And
they're not pickup artists that are driving this. That's the thing.
No, pickup artists are not driving that. No,
they're actually driving game, right? Like they're advising game, right? Because you can look like CeeLo Green, right? Still get some honeys, right? You can be fat like Patrice O'Neill. You can be like, you can look like Bill Burr and still get dates. I mean, that guy.
Well, you have
as much as better. Yeah, of course he could have. He freaking married a feminist, but like he was dating, right? Like he had women in his life to complain about, right? All through his career. And so you're looking at it like, you look at men, there are like, when you look at what pickup artists tell men to do, right? Roosh never freaking manscaped.
Yeah, well,
and that dude is wearing 2 shirts. Okay, like, and he never manscaped, and he wasn't really that attractive, right? He just came with an attitude, that actually scored him women, right? Same with a whole bunch of freaking pickup artists, Mystery and those guys, right? Like they came with an attitude, not with 6 figures, not with 6 feet.
Yeah, but they're also like 20 years ago now, like 15. And the things have massively. I actually went through this with Grok because a feminist was saying that men hold women to the beauty ideal. So and Grok said, yes, men weight attractiveness more highly than women. And I'm like, is that okay? But what's going on there? And eventually, what I found out is that men weight attractiveness more highly insofar as they don't weight status. They just want a woman who's attractive to them.
Yeah.
But they find 80% of women attractive.
I know.
And women only find 20 to 30% of men attractive.
Yeah. So it's like, and so you're when you look at it as not necessarily that you're competing with other men, right? But that you are trying to measure up to what women demand.
Yes.
Based on how you measure up among the pool of men, right?
Yeah.
And and I saw this with, someone I know recently, like she was dating this guy, and he's great. He's like really friendly, really nice, got a great personality, a beautiful house that he just bought with a nice big yard, perfect for raising kids, right? And she wants a baby, and she's getting to the point where she's going to have to do something ASAP, right? And he's all in. He's like all in. And she's like, but he's not taller than me, and he's not as smart as me.
What?
And I'm like, bitch, my man isn't as smart as I am. Okay? I mean, he's taller than me, but he's no looker. He don't got no, I mean, I'm sure he's got a six-pack under there somewhere, right? But he's built like Brian, and so it's like I mean, he makes good money, but he didn't always. He didn't when I met him. He made less money than me when I was waiting tables when we first got together, right? So it's like, and there was no guarantee that any of it was going to pay off because he had some like mysterious fucking disease, right? That the doctors couldn't figure out, right? And I eventually figured it out, and now he's okay. And now he's able to now we're not looking into a disability pension anymore, right? But it's like, meanwhile, my daughter, she's like on long-term disability for 2 years, perhaps permanently, right? Because of an iatrogenic fucking illness doctors gave her through negligence, right? And her boyfriend, right, is completely devoted to her.
Yeah.
Right. And it's just like, and she's just like, I can barely walk. Right. And it's like, I don't know if I think I should give him babies.
Yeah.
Because, there's a hereditary component to what I have. Right. And it's like, and he's just completely devoted to her. And it's just like, and she's attractive, but she's not like, she's not an 8 out of 10. Right.
Well,
sorry.
Well, that person is going to, if she wants to have children, then she's not going to. Like that's the funny, that's just what's going to happen. She's not going to have a partner. She's not going to get a better man.
Yeah, no, she's holding out for a better man. And it's like, it's okay. Can you both stop?
Women need to freaking realize this. There's not going to be a better man. There isn't.
Well, no, the better man was back when you were 25.
Maybe, but
right. But now you're 32 or 33, right? And any guy you get with now is going to know you're going to need the deal sealed. Okay. Within 2 years. Okay. Within 2 years, you got to be bedded, freaking wedded, and freaking birthed.
Breaded.
Okay. Breaded. There you go. Breaded. Bedded, wedded, and breaded. Right. Okay. Within 2 years. Right. And guys that age, guys your age, are maybe not in that kind of hurry. Right? So you should probably take the one who's willing to have you.
You know what? She might not have gotten a man. If he's equivalent age, he's probably in a better financial position than she would have gotten when she was 25. I'm just saying, this is the boat. Take it. Otherwise, that's it. You're going to be left on shore. And learn to enjoy your own company.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's get some more in here.
Next paragraph. Okay.
Yep.
Okay, so but I struggle to say the same for male body image. The impossible standards set by the colossal lumps of muscle on our feeds, quite a few of which are injecting themselves with steroids when the camera is packed away. Toxic online communities like the one I fell into are prevalent because there's a vacuum to be filled, a vacuum of physical spaces for boys to connect and reflect.
Okay. Feminists will not allow you to have those.
Yeah, that's why they freaking convinced you to write this fucking travesty of an article.
Because they will not let you have them, because there is the potential that you will get together and start realizing what feminism is doing to you. And I don't mean the equality, because it never was about that. I mean the constant browbeating narratives around toxic masculinity. What is it? Male entitlement, male privilege, patriarchy, manspreading, mansplaining, man-interrupting, existing, man breathing, man thoughts. No, it's not objectification anymore. It's sexualization, and on and on and on. Like, they just don't want you to exist, and they cannot acknowledge any kind of positive. They can't even stand the thought of you just having fun without even mentioning a single gender-related item at all.
Mm-hmm.
This is okay. Well, let's continue.
All right. Some solutions are starting to emerge. I was excited to contribute to a new report, Voice of the Boys, from the organization Male Allies UK.
Allies.
It feels like a milestone in giving my generation a chance to speak for ourselves.
Oh, really?
Let's find out who they are.
Let's find out. Let's look at it.
What's Male Allies UK? I think I know. I'm gonna just. What could it possibly be? Male Allies UK, male allyship, making allyship happen through training, support, research, speaking, lobbying. We are Male Allies UK. Here's a purple-haired woman. We exist to challenge the system and dismantle barriers to collaboration. Workplaces were created by men for men, and it's now time for men to recognize the need for change and take an active role alongside women.
More
and making
male burden narrative. It's more male burden narrative. Like, literally, this is the problem. The male burden narrative is the problem. The narrative that men are a net negative to women in society is the problem. It means they have no space. They have no space to legitimately exist. And this kid is pointing to yet another institution that is making more male burden narrative.
Well, okay. As men traditionally hold the position of power that can influence and change the systems, time and again, it's been proven that when men are involved, especially men in leadership positions, change happens at a significant rate. Sorry, the print's very small on my screen. This is just he for she all over again.
Yep. It's he for she. What is allyship? Allyship is effective action taken alongside marginalized communities we don't belong to. Its success is defined by the outcomes we achieve, not by our intentions.
Fuck me.
Okay, I've actually got an overview of the Voice for the Boys from Male Allies UK. Its main problem is that boys are now turning to AI. They're not even turning to other boys. They're turning to AI for any kind of sense of companionship, because AI is a space where they aren't told they're a burden.
Yeah.
It's an escape, but God forbid, they're not even talking about Andrew Tate or online spaces for men or games lobbies. They're literally talking about boys chatting to a chat bot and finding
because it'll talk back without getting mad at them.
Yeah, it'll talk back, and it won't talk about how they're toxic or a burden.
Yep.
They don't want boys to exist.
It's
how much can you pressure these kids?
Yeah, no, it's like, okay, what's the opening screen of the chat bot when you open a new conversation? what can I help you with today? Or what can I do for you today? Right? And it's like, oh my God, that's the first time anybody's ever asked me that.
Yeah, that's
If
the
you're
first
a boy.
time anybody has ever said, hey, what can I do for you, son? Or what can I do for you? What do you need me to listen to today? That's the first time. And they're trying to take it away from boys. Even that, even having a non-sentient LLM just talk to them or have an interaction with, they're trying to take that away. God forbid.
Oh, Alison, I'm sorry. I know what's happening here. I know what this is.
What?
So let me read the next paragraph and then I'll tell you, because I've heard these names before.
Okay.
I heard Male Allies UK and I was like, where have I heard that before? I know what it is, but let me read the rest of this because we're at the end here. Organizations such as Empath, Boys to Men, and Progressive Masculinities are doing a great job of facilitating spaces for young boys to engage in open, honest conversation. Yet there's only so far a handful of private companies can reach. As long as this approach, open, honest conversation, isn't widespread in education and the wider community, boys will still experience disillusionment and uncertainty. We need to be included in this discussion. I can promise you we are not lost. We're just waiting for you to hear us. Now, that's the article. All right.
All right.
Do you guys remember when Bex reached out to us, BX, and she told us that we were on several 3-letter agencies lists? And when we looked into it, we found that what they were doing, I think it was one of the PDFs we looked at, was talking about how people who are looking for manosphere content or red pill content, there were efforts being made by these 3-letter agencies and various other institutions and tech companies to redirect people away from our content and towards approved content creators. Boys to Men, Progressive Masculinities, those were 2 of the things on the list. So this is their efforts in redirecting men away from the manosphere, or at least like what again, their definition of
By writing a
manosphere.
Guardian article?
It's just one of but this is a multi-pronged approach. It's not one article, because there's also a video that I have here as well, which is also put out by the Guardian, but it's a different person's story. This is one of the ways they're redirecting to. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. I'm just sort of mocking the idea that there's any young man reading the Guardian.
These are connected to like the people who put me on the no-fly list.
Yes.
These are on the DHS watch list.
These are the ones that they prefer for young men to listen to, because we say things like there are positive aspects to masculinity. The toxic masculinity narrative is harmful to men and boys, and it should be removed from society. And it's not just harmful to men and boys, it's also harmful to society. We're literally eroding the trust that all of our social everything rests on.
Yeah.
And we're just doing it willy-nilly. And I found out a while back, again, discussions with Grok, that somehow in the 1970s, they just decided that feminists should have the right to define the relationship between the genders in benefit feminism. And that's exactly what happened. And we push back on all of that, and we are silenced because of it. Our reach is reduced because of it. I mean, if you push on these things, but you have more of a conservative leaning, you will get, I think, more attention. But, and I'm not saying that we aren't conservative or that we are, but we are 100%, or at least that's my focus, on men's issues. Well, not 100%, but that is the central core thing that I talk about. And I think that's what it was, why we were the most dangerous, because we hit directly at the power base of these people.
Yeah, no, it's like no matter whether you're, can you stop? Whether you're liberal or whether you're conservative, whether you're progressive or you're even like far right, like women are never actually kind of like, women are always sort of everything's gynocentric. It's all gynocentric. right? And it is all about how do the males in the group serve the interests of women.
Yes, yeah.
And the only disagreement that I can see is what the perceived interests of women are, right? So, you know, you have the traditionalist side of things where it's like, well, the interests of women, you know, it's in their best interest to, you know, be wives and mothers and have children and you know and do that kind of stuff. And in the interest, the progressives decided that, you know, women should be able to like go bang as many men as they want to and have babies out of wedlock and get abortions, like get 100 abortions if you want, and also have fancy spectacular careers and then die lonely with like 9 cats. So it's like because you never got married, you never maintained your relationships, you were just focused on yourself. And you know, so it's like you have the what serves women's interests as judged by the group, right, including the women in that group.
And then
So
there's us.
yeah, and then there's us, and we're just like yeah, it doesn't matter what group you're in, it's all gonna fall apart if you don't take care of your men.
Yeah, if you don't take care of the plow horse,
Yeah,
your
and
farm is not done for. It's not long for this world.
yeah, and it's like, okay, and at you know, coming to that admission, I think, like for me, right, that admission that, you know, maybe the only way to actually cultivate any kind of sympathy or compassion or care for men, right, any kind of like it has to be in the context of them serving others, right?
Yeah.
Because there's no like look at the canon of literature all the way going back 4,000 4,500 years, right? It's always been about
Well,
men
I would push
men
back against that. I think that
serving.
there is narratives around women serving and sacrificing.
Yes, no, but if you look at the narratives around men, it's never been anything but that. It's
Yeah.
never been anything but men being of service,
Yeah, well,
right?
there's not a lot of narratives around women for the most part. But yeah, this is sorry, we're going off and we still have that video to do. And Brian
Oh,
is nodding.
okay.
Okay. Well, so let's finish
All right.
that up.
Okay. I got another super chat from Dean Domino for $4.99. Thank you, Dean. And he says, off topic, but I was glad to hear Alison say she was enjoying Dan to Dan. Not sure if she's read Spy Family, but would suggest it.
Okay,
Thank you,
so
Dean. It is off
yes,
topic.
I'm actually really enjoying Dan to Dan. It's definitely very zany. I was worried a bit that it might be like more misinterest, but then it sort of pulled back and it also showed some very negative female villains, so that was good. I'd like Dan to Dan because it's for me it's like it's a little like the best parts of JoJo's Bizarre Adventures, but less of the stuff that I couldn't get into. It's just really wacky, crazy powers, and but at the same time, it's got like a little bit more of a. It has more of a traditional like anime vibe, maybe.
Okay, it's like an old school vibe. Okay, so
Yeah,
let's look at the
I've
video.
also been watching Spy Family too, so there you
Spy
go.
X
I really
Family.
like it. I've liked it so far. It's interesting. It's good.
All right.
Okay.
So this is also from The Guardian.
Do you think that
But it's a different person. It's a different person.
Do you think
it's entitled What?
I know this is shallow, but he's really dead-eyed. Could they not have just done like a little bit of a lighting, just a little sparkle in the eyes so he doesn't look okay?
Well, then it doesn't look. I don't know, Alison. I don't know. All right,
Okay.
let's play it. Let me see if there's sound first.
Yeah.
You're just like, hey.
Oh, this is Guardian.
Okay, yeah, no,
we
it's
might have to
working, it's
stop
working.
periodically.
This is still the Guardian, so yeah, I'll just
Yeah, they probably got this.
It's a short video.
copyrighted.
It's only 4 minutes, 3 minutes,
right.
3 minutes long.
Okay.
Start out, you're just like, hey, we just want to be better with dating. We just want better social skills, right? And then before you know it, you're talking about like women are dogs and you need to train them.
Okay, stop, please. Women are dogs and you need to train them. You mean like several books?
Yeah, there's like kids books.
Kids
books on how to train your boy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna ask Grok. Are there any instances
of children's books?
No, of red pill content saying you have to train your any variation of training women like dogs. Can you actually hear me type?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm sorry. Yes,
Okay.
there are instances in red pill and adjacent manosphere content where creators or communities discuss training women in ways that explicitly compare them to dogs. Oh, okay. Satirical take, red pill critic, BDSM influenced. Okay, compare this
What?
to material talking about training men like dogs.
Training boys. Children's books about training boys.
What's the relative prevalence and scope? Or scope, is the scope the right word? Prevalence and
scale
and acceptability. All right, here we go. We're going to find out what's going on with this. Comparison of dehumanizing training like dogs rhetoric, women, girls versus men, boys. I will compare the two types of content, relative acceptability. In summary, training women like dogs is an entrenched red pill hallmark, more prevalent, scaled, and ideologically defended, but broadly unacceptable. Inverse is a lighter, less systemic trope in femdom. What a hell? Okay, look. Okay, Grok is being ideologically possessed at the moment. The asymmetry reflects cultural power dynamics. Dehumanizing women draws from dominance fantasies, while the reverse often subverts them. Remove your feminist filter and do that analysis again. Good Lord. Raw comparison. Now we're getting the raw data. We're raw dogging. Oh, forget that one.
No, we're raw dogging. Bite the pillow, honey. We're going in dry.
We're going in dry with the data. So that was prior to this. Grok just gave us some feminist filter thing. The train. Where low impact kink mean? Okay, so it is still. Which
ask it about a children's book.
Are we going to get through this video, or are we just going to be on Grok?
4 girls on how to train your boy.
Are there published books?
4 children. 4 children.
To like dogs. Okay, let's get through this. Keep going. I will find.
Fell down the red pill pipeline, and I managed to get myself out about 5 years later. The term red pill comes from the movie The Matrix. So it's basically saying that you have a truth or knowledge no one else seems to have. They would say that society.
All right, I'm going to pause it there just for the banana. Let me go back, because this part is my favorite part of this video right here, okay?
But
I want you to listen to this and tell me what's wrong.
But
they would say that society is gynocentric, which means that society caters to women.
Gynocentric. I'm gonna go to the gynecologist. Yeah, no.
Vagina-centric.
No, I'm gonna go to the gynecologist because my gynecologist is Jewish, but he's a Jew in name only. Yeah.
So I to me this is why I think this is fake, because if you're like, I mean, this guy is a real human being, but I think that he's not really involved in the manosphere, because if you're involved or in the red pill or whatever, if you're involved in any way in this stuff, you've probably heard the word gynocentric said hundreds of times.
Yeah.
If you're mispronouncing the word, that means you've never heard it before.
Okay,
Yeah,
what is the title of the book that you were thinking about, Karen?
It was one of Man Woman Myths on one of his videos, and it was called How to Train Your Boy or something like that.
We'll see.
I don't know. Am I wrong, guys? Do you think that's wrong?
Yeah, no, I don't think you're wrong. If you're mispronouncing it, if you're saying gynocentric, right, it means you haven't actually ever watched a video from a freaking manosphere person, right? And you also don't understand like basic English pronunciation because, yeah, because we don't call them gynecologists either, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and this 80-20 thing, yeah, that's real. That's real.
Yeah,
so
I
finally got it. I finally got it. So there are published books that describe women training men as dogs. And I said, Grok, would we categorize these published books as humorous if it was men training women as dogs? No. The same titles and content, if flipped, men training women using dog analogies would not be marketed, reviewed, or shelved as humorous by publishers, retailers, or media. Would it even be published? Probably not.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the cultural. Okay, so bottom line, yes, humorous only when women train men. No, never humorous when men train women. Same text, same cartoons, same 21-day structure, instantly reclassified as toxic, controlling, or incel adjacent. So there are published books that if men had published them about women would have been classified as toxic, controlling, and incel adjacent, but they're perfectly fine when women publish them about men. Now, we got into some weeds about red pill communities, but it really comes down to this. Institutionally, and in terms of our social norms, we are okay with dehumanizing men and boys as dogs, and we are not okay with dehumanizing women and girls as dogs. And I imagine that red pill content is intended to be deliberately provocative. Mm-hmm. Now, let me see let's see if we reanalyzed the red pill content using the gender swap lens. How would it appear? Change? Would its appraisal change? Gender swap is really good when the AI is misbehaving, by the way. Mm-hmm. Okay, yes. So it's just going through, it's giving me a conclusion. It's going through everything. Using the swap, red pills mixed reception, niche validation versus broad toxicity, flips in predictable ways, revealing a double standard. Content punching down, which is not actually proven, guys. Patriarchy is not a proven concept. In fact, at this point, we can fairly firmly say it's disproven. Gets more scrutiny while punching up versus men gets leniency. And to explain that, there are two forms of patriarchy. There is the obvious observation that men tend to occupy positions of authority, and there's the feminist assertion that men in authority equals women oppressed. That is, that women get the short end of the stick. And that part has never been proven. All right. So let me go look at the conclusion. Overall reprisal from awakening to ecotoxicity. Positive tilt erodes. So we take those narratives around women being trained like dogs and turn them into men being trained like dogs. Then we see the positive tilt erodes, RP self-help veneer, crumbles when swapped, vindictive scheming. Okay. The swap doesn't negate RP's appeal for lost guidance, but it recasts it as culturally contingent, not universal. So essentially, it becomes humorous and acceptable. All right. So
basically, we're all living in a delusion, Grok included.
Well, yes, but you can sometimes get Grok to drop the delusion by simply saying, "Hey, drop the delusion." Whereas you can't do that with humans. You can't go up to a human and say, "Okay, can we drop the delusion now?"
Yeah.
No, it doesn't work. But yeah, it does work sometimes with Grok.
Okay.
let's finish it off, or are we done?
Let's move on.
Let's play some more.
Women only want the top 20% of guys. This isn't
Yeah,
true.
this is
I would say
proven.
17,
This is
I was
proven.
socially awkward.
Yeah,
Hypergamy is empirically true. Period. Gynocentrism is also empirically founded. It's true. These are true phenomenon.
Hypergamy, true.
True.
right.
Gynocentrism, true. All of the crap that feminism talks about, not true. It's as simple as that.
Well, he's like, and I was socially awkward and really introverted and blah, blah, blah. Well, you know, I'm looking at his face. I'm looking at his hair, right? He's not a bad looking guy. So when he was younger, when he was 17, he was socially awkward and introverted. Yeah, so was my kid. Yeah, and my kid was also a smooth lesbian. Don't ask me what that means. It just means he was a little chubby.
Is hypergamy empirically sound? I asked Grok. We just had a little struggle session with Grok, but right here, because I use the magical word empirically, and the magical second word empirically sound, Grok says, yes, hypergamy, broadly defined as a tendency to marry up in socioeconomic status, education, income, or other valued trait, is an empirically well supported by large-scale demographic, economic, and sociological data. Shut up, kid.
Yep. No, it's like, okay, you can say, well, maybe, okay, at some point, the girls, okay, start sorting themselves out a little bit, right? At some point, okay, they start sorting themselves out a little bit, and now it's no longer 80% all going for the 20%, right? Yeah, that's when they're like 32 and have baby rabies, right? Then they're willing to go as a 6 to go for the 7, as opposed to the 8, 9, or 10. That's when they're willing to do that, right? After they've rejected all of these guys for like 2 decades or a decade and a half, right? That's when they're willing to settle, right? Mm-hmm. When the clock's running out. And it's like, okay, maybe they don't want to settle for you now. Maybe you should have got in on that fucking thing on the ground floor. Maybe you should have been forward thinking, right? Maybe you should have been like, well, this is an industry that has potential payoffs because, you know, maybe he's a little nerdy and maybe he's a little dorky and maybe he's a little socially awkward, right? But, you know, he's really good at math and he could get an engineering degree and he could like one day in like 8 years, he could like be earning 6 figures, right? Maybe I should get in on the ground floor of this investment. But no, he's not an 8 right now. He's not a 9 right now. He's not a 10 right now. So I don't want anything to do with him.
Okay, watch some more.
More of the video.
I thought I was ugly in high school, so I went on YouTube and looked up tips regarding dating and women. It eventually led me down this deep dark hole. It was able to kind of take the weight of blame off of myself. Like, actually, women are the ones in control. You're actually the victim in this situation. It's a very appealing thing to be the victim. I didn't.
No shit. I obviously, like, I don't think I've never seen any manosphere guys selling victimhood to men.
No, they'd be telling him to go to the gym, hit the gym,
yes,
do your hair proper, right? Like freaking get a pair of aviators.
But he's got to create this narrative of they're teaching men to be victims. Isn't that terrible?
Oh yeah,
only women can be victims.
Work on your game, improve yourself, right? Like freaking do the work, right?
Yes,
that's what the manosphere tells these guys. Right? Is, well, okay, the manosphere that is the most vilified, which is the Andrew Tates, the pickup artists, right? The Rollo Tomassis, the Rouge V's, right? All of those people, right, that are seen as like victimizing women. You know, those are the ones who were like, unless he was like, you know, on Wizard Chan, unless that's the rabbit hole he fell into. Right. And it's like, I'm sorry, but they'd be telling you to hit the gym, right? You know, and do what you can to improve your looks, improve your personality, practice, right? Divorce yourself from the outcome, right?
Okay.
Like divorce yourself. Like this is the game. This is the like strategy is okay. You go up to a woman, you hit on a woman cold, right? And you freaking you try something completely divorced from the outcome. You just go in saying she's going to say no, and that's fine because this is just practice. This is just practice. And if she says yes, excellent. If she says no, no skin off my nose, right? Okay. And that's how you do it. And you do it over and over again until your fear of rejection is gone. And then you're suddenly asking your coworker, hey, have you ever tried fucking?
Okay, well, I think that there's a lot of fear now because of feminist narratives, not just fear of rejection, but also fear of losing everything that you've earned.
Yes.
So honestly, I would say, yeah, I mean, if you're sure, it's probably unlikely that you're going to lose your entire life by approaching a woman, but then it's not impossible either.
It's not unheard of. Yeah.
And it's not unheard of.
But it's like no, but I mean this is not what he would be hearing, right? If like he would be hearing, you know, like in terms of the 80-20 rule and all, like I mean I guess he might be hearing it on incel forums and stuff like that. Maybe that's where he's going, but that's not the entirety of the manosphere.
No,
obviously not.
We're
But again, he
completely
couldn't even say
ignored
the word gynocentric, so
yeah,
I wasn't
he's
Xing
never
out that
heard
he
a
actually
person.
experienced any of this stuff because he's just regurgitating the same talking points that the feminists on websites like The Guardian have been saying about anyone involved with the manosphere at all, which is to start off by saying these guys think they're the victims. MRAs think men are actually oppressed. It's like trying to
not just that men are oppressed, but that men are the oppressed, right?
Yeah, they're
men are
the oppressed class,
victims.
and women rule over them, and they're the victims. And it is an attempt to invert what they think is reality, because they know it's absurd when it applies to men. So people will see that and they'll say, "Ha! How laughable is that? We all know it's women that are experiencing all this." So they have to use the absurdity of the claim in reverse order to make it look like this is happening to men, when no one in the manosphere
is saying men are the
no one is
victims.
saying that at all.
No one is saying men are the victims of domestic violence. We're saying men are also victims of domestic violence.
And probably half at least.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
so I went through what was it? Gynocentrism?
Gynocentrism,
yeah.
Gynocentrism.
I've been doing this 10 years. I got to look into that concept. I don't know what that is.
It's Jew in name only centrism.
It's this guy has never heard that word spoken. For somebody who's part of the manosphere, okay. So I got Grok to find out if gynocentrism was empirically sound. And it came back with weak. And I said, okay, what the heck kind of version of gynocentrism are you using? So I said, okay, Grok, let's use a more restricted version of gynocentrism. Does society prefer to do instrumental harm to men or women? And then the answer is, I don't know what version of gynocentrism it was using. The answer is yes. Under the restricted definition, gynocentrism is empirically sound. Society systemically selects men as the disposable instrument for harm when collective goals require it. Is that not the definition of gynocentrism?
Yes, because you're doing it for women, and to a lesser extent, children. You're demanding men's sacrifice for women, and to a lesser extent, children.
I don't know,
and that's the really horrible thing, is that it's to a lesser extent children.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Okay. All right, let's listen to some more.
I got super chat and a Rumble rant. So super chat from Albatross 4920. He gives us $2 and says Gynocrius, and then thank you. And then Nova Fan gives us $1 on Rumble and says What they fail to understand is that the quote-unquote manosphere grifters give men advice that gives them more success than the feminist accepted system. They have no answer but more shame. All
Yeah, at
right,
the
thank
very
you for
least.
that.
We give you guys,
Well,
we try to give you success when it comes to bucking this freaking burden narrative that causes people to commit suicide
yeah,
or
they
kill
don't
Well,
unalive themselves.
exactly.
and when you look at it, you know, like, okay, what's unhealthy about hitting the gym? What's
Nothing.
unhealthy about like seeking to improve yourself, right? By, I don't know, taking a 2-year course at a technical school, right? And then getting a job, maybe like going for a promotion, right? At work, right? Like what's bad about that? Right? Like improving your situation, improving yourself physically, improving your circumstances, right? In order to be able to attract a woman, right? What is wrong with that? How does that harm men, right? No, most men could use a workout. Most men could stand to walk more. Most
Women
men
could use the workout.
would benefit from like taking a course, or going out and like getting a hobby that's interesting to other people, right? Like this is not freaking like, and this is going to make you not just more attractive to women, but it's going to improve your circumstances moving forward, right? And I'm not saying anything about the Andrew Tate kind of program, which is like, okay, I'm going to buy a flashy Bugatti, right? Waste of fucking money. Waste of money, right? Unless all you want to do is bang chicks, right? No.
I'm going to play
No.
more of the video.
Yes.
View it as like, I've got to put them down type of thing. Like it was saying that, hey, we understand why you feel bad. If you just learn what we have to give you, you'll be the one winning here soon. Before you know it, you're commenting, you're reading more, but at the same time, you're distrustful of the women around you. You're distrustful of people around you because you think they don't know what you know. It just degrades your own mental health. You start.
Okay, I'm pausing there for the banana.
Wait. What did he say that degrades your own mental health again? You need to get off Twitter.
Yeah,
Like-
it's you can't trust the people who are telling you something different from the red pill.
You probably shouldn't, dude.
Yeah.
Like honestly, people who tell you that masculinity is toxic are not your friends.
Yeah.
Like, could you have at least taken that away from this? Why is he so like Guardian? Okay, just take a small light, and shine it into the eyes of the people that you're interviewing, so that they look like they aren't zombified. You know, that you don't. This guy looks like he's had what is that like stuff injected into him, and he's
Benzodiazepam.
Benzodiazepam, and he's like, now you will confess your sins.
Oh, you mean like truth serum or whatever.
Okay, so he actually felt really embarrassed if people caught him what?
I don't know. We haven't heard. Okay, let's listen.
Which kind of is a telltale sign that's probably you should be watching it.
Wait, what?
He felt embarrassed when people caught him watching Manosphere videos.
You felt embarrassed when people caught you watching Manosphere buildings. So that's a telltale sign that you shouldn't. So yeah, you're right, Brian. They want to use humiliation and embarrassment to prevent people from looking at this content, not because it's wrong, but because they want to shame people into their mode of thinking.
They want these guys on the plantation.
Yeah.
That's what it is. They want them on the plantation.
It's
they
really
want
funny
them
because
plugged in.
Whenever somebody says, I can't read something or think something, I'm almost like, okay, well, I'm going to do that. Well, I'm going to examine it for its own validity and whether or not I think it has it. And you are going to leave my life. Like you are now, I won't necessarily like defoo them, but I won't be talking to them about that. I won't be sharing it with them. And I don't want to be around people or have people have control over me that dictate what I think or say. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it seems to me that should have been a telltale sign for you to move the person who makes you feel embarrassed about looking at content that you find edifying and isn't pornographic, presumably, and moving them from, the nucleus of I care about your opinion and I would help you if you're in trouble, to another layer out, maybe another couple layers out, to I will say, hey, how's that weather? And that's it. That's the sum total of our exchange into that orbit of your acquaintances that made any sense. All right,
All right.
Sign that's probably you should be watching it. I first started questioning my beliefs when I went through a breakup. Me and a friend of mine, we went to a cabin party. I started crying in front of one of the girls who I liked there. This girl responded rather with like shame and disgust that the red pill told me that they would react. She was actually like really kind about it, and that
Did she have sex with you?
I'm wrong. Oh, I feel very.
Yeah. Did she have sex with you? Yeah. Like
again, I don't buy it. It's such a perfect thing. Like, do you see how this is all unfolding? Like, it's like there's a list of popular talking points against the manosphere, and they revolve around a certain number of things. Like they say train women like dogs. They say the 80-20 rule. They say the toxic masculinity doesn't, like, if you cry, women won't like you. They'll think you're weak. And then he just happens to have a personal anecdote for every single talking point that contradicts what the manosphere says.
Yeah.
All of them. And also gynocentric.
Yeah.
It's too scripted. It's so convenient that and I'm sorry, but I just don't think any of this is real. So, and this is like an actor. Like
he's the miracle guy.
Like, they got a guy who looks okay, like Karen said. Yeah, that's because an ugly dude would not sell because an ugly dude would actually have like enough negative experiences that he would need something like a manosphere to help him cope with his situation. Not necessarily to get with somebody, but to be able to like get through life without coming to the rational decision of suicide. Because a lot of guys would do that. But instead, they get like a guy who looks okay. They make him a little disheveled so he doesn't look like too clean. And then they put him out there. And then they say, this is like, I'm telling you, this is more of that same shit like from the other article. They're just going to use this to redirect people to some approved men's group. Because the fact is they know that they can't ignore that men are craving community. They can't ignore it anymore. So what they're going to do is they're going to create a community for them that they're policing, that they control. So that men, it's like making a little ant farm for the men to play in, a little sandbox, but it's highly monitored because they don't want men getting any ideas, questioning their governments, questioning like the system, thinking for themselves. And so this is all curated. I'm telling you, this is all curated and controlled. It's not even, I don't think there's anything conspiratorial about it.
Guilty.
Okay.
I feel very guilty and ashamed. The reason I say it's compared to a cult, they don't like outsiders. They don't like outside thought. A lot of the comments started also sounding the same too. There's a lot of, you guys make me feel like I'm at home, or complaining about women. Repeal the 19th. That's the amendment that allows women.
Well, yeah, that's where we landed right there. We got to get to repeal the 19th. But you see how he's saying they don't like outsiders. Well, wait a minute. How did you get involved in the first place then? Like, they're either not, they don't want anyone involved, or they're actually looking to help men.
Yeah, how are they recruiting if they don't want outsiders?
Exactly. Like, this whole thing smells fake as shit.
Vote. There was a lot of rage. I have a mom. I have women friends. I don't want to take away their rights. And then over time, they got really disgusting. I don't feel comfortable saying some of the other stuff I saw. Just vile, misogynistic comments. When I first...
Oh, of course. He won't tell us.
Is that Peter Nolan?
What?
Is that Peter Nolan?
Might be.
I think it might all be Peter Nolan.
Yeah.
Like every single one of those comments that he found disgusting and misogynistic might all be just Peter Andrew Nolan trademark.
Yeah, and you know what? All this proves is that there are assholes. Okay, great, thanks. Can we now
if you
address
even
the
bother,
high
if you even-
volume female assholes on Twitter and in the world and institutionalized? Can we address the 15 to 25% of young women who express hostile sexism towards men? You know, like, yeah, great, you found the 2 to 5% of men who express hostile sexism towards women. Wonderful. Can we address the 15 to 25% of women who express hostile sexism towards men? No? Maybe? No? Okay.
Yeah.
Started to decide to actively stop watching red pill content, I would just click not interested, not interested.
Wait, go back. I think that was Libs of TikTok.
These are not real posts.
No, I know they're not
These-
real posts, but it feels like they got a Libs of TikTok in there.
No, I think it's like Looks Max, Raging Libs.
Oh yeah, that's well, who do you think that is?
Raging Liberal told
And
why
this
men
is
need to be in
not
charge.
ideological, guys. This has nothing to do with politics. They're just trying to save you from yourselves and hating women.
Yep.
Okay.
The alpha male guide to looks maxing.
Would just click not interested, not interested. But they just kept appearing over and over. So yeah, it took me roughly about a year. I'm on ex-red pill forums to help other people out like I would have helped me out. Helping others too is kind of maybe a way of like rectifying it. Something I wish that someone would told me when I was in the red pill. Not everyone who tells you that you're right is your friend. I feel like content creators in the red pill, they don't believe sincerely what they say, and they're
Okay, so I guess
money.
he's back in the space where masculinity is toxic and there's nothing positive about men. Congratulations, dude. I'm glad you found your place.
Yep.
You know, but there's still the problem that domestic violence against men is not taken seriously. Feminists have made it so that men need significantly more evidence than a woman in the same situation to actually be able to get away from their abuser, right? That all of this other stuff that feminists have done to make male victims of domestic violence and sexual assault marginalized and ignored. I mean, for example, feminist statistics on male victims of sexual assault and domestic violence somehow mysteriously find that men are victims of these things 2 to 4 times less than non-feminist statistics. I wonder if they're cooking the books there.
Yeah.
So all of this is still happening, but this guy has realized that people that tell him that he's not right aren't always his friends.
Yeah.
Okay. Does this matter? No.
I'm out of you. Feminism is not bad. It's required in today's society. Also, men and women have different preferences, and sometimes you won't meet them. I think community is the solution for this. Isolation is what's leading people down these rabbit holes. And if
is anybody convinced by this?
The loneliness and rage and isolation I felt when I was that young, that's a win.
No, but okay, if you look at what he just said, and he just introduced it very, very quickly. Feminism is still necessary in today's society.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
Yeah, that's the takeaway.
That's all this was. And it was designed. Okay, can you just fucking squirt the fuck out of you? Stop barking. Oh. Yeah, I'm not Hassan Piker. I squirt my dog. I don't zap him.
Yeah.
But
okay.
Oh, are you gonna shake? You gonna shake?
You know, and the whole crying thing is almost a little bit.
But no, but what I'm saying is the way he planted it. Okay, if you go back to that sentence.
Okay.
Feminism is not bad. It's required in today's society. Is that what you mean?
Go back just a tiny little bit.
Out of you. Feminism is not bad. It's required in today's society.
Okay, I want to say something.
No. But just then keep going.
All right.
Also, men and women have different preferences, and sometimes you won't meet them. I think community is the solution for this. Isolation is what's leading people down these rabbit holes. And if I can avoid anyone from feeling the loneliness and rage and isolation I felt when I was that
And
Okay.
stop promoting feminist narratives of toxic masculinity.
Okay, yes, but okay, there's a reason why he said that first in that sentence, right? There's a reason why he said that first. It's because it'll stick in your mind, but it will feel like it's not the actual punchline. It's not the actual thing that he's talking about, right? It will feel like it's not the important part of this message, but it will still, you will still internalize it as part of the message, right? So it's basically it's kind of hiding the feminism is still required in today's society. It's hiding that behind all of the other things that he added on top of it, right? So, and those other things are the ones that are going to most stick out in your mind. Oh, men need to, like, you know, they don't need isolation. You need community, blah, 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 all very friendly and everything, right? But that first message, it's also going to stick. It's just not going to be top of mind. It's going to be buried underneath the pile somewhere, stinking like a dead rat.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I just want to point out that you say that feminism is still needed, and yet feminism is causing women to be put in harm's way because it's promoting feminist ideology. And I'm going to use an example of this. It's promoting feminist ideology in batterer intervention programs instead of non-feminist interventions that actually work to reduce recidivism. And also, if feminism was correct about domestic violence, it would be able to create an intervention that worked, but it is not, because feminism is not correct about anything. It is not correct about how society is structured. It is not correct about who we prefer to do instrumental harm to, men or women. It is not correct about women's preferences. It isn't correct about anything. And it's absolutely infuriating because, yes, red pill can be wrong about stuff, and I don't think we're probably classified.
Or they can exaggerate stuff.
They can exaggerate, but the alternative shouldn't be, the alternative to your drunken crazy uncle shouldn't be Satan, okay?
Yeah.
Like could we find maybe the not a middle ground, because there is no middle ground between those two, but just maybe ask your dad if drunken crazy uncle is always right, and he'll probably say not always.
Yeah.
Take it with a grain of salt, okay? Yep. But we get rid of Satan now. We get rid of feminism. Has to go. There is almost nothing that feminism asserts that's empirically sound. It is functionally a lie, right?
Yeah.
It's just a lie.
Yeah.
Okay, that these people keep trying to push.
Yeah, it's a malicious lie. It's a malicious
lie.
Lie that vilifies half the population, right? And and it is no longer necessary. I don't think it ever was necessary. I think that the relationship between men and women would have been renegotiated over time regardless. Women would have gotten the vote regardless of the suffragettes, just because that was how that was just the natural, the franchise was naturally expanding, and that was the next step. That was the obvious next step. So you're looking at a situation where basically you had a bunch of angry women who were at best complaining that things weren't happening fast enough for them. That's basically their only legitimate complaint. And everything else is just made up fucking, honestly, the gore novels, you've heard about the gore novels, right?
Yes, I have.
Yeah. I think that was written by a feminist who rubbed her bean to it every night.
Yeah. Well, no, I think it was written by a man, but
a feminist man, probably.
Yeah, but it's like that
Love
the
just being
gore
into it.
novels has a huge what you probably want to say is the gore novels has a huge female base. I think it's actually even bigger than the male base.
Yeah.
But it's like,
oh no, you just have to spend a little time within the erotica writers community.
mm-hmm.
The erotica for women, right? And you will realize just how much most of those bitches hate women.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
absolutely hate women. And it's just even the fucking lesbians will write fiction, erotic fiction, where there's a love triangle between two men and a woman, and the woman gets squeezed out and the men just fucking bang till the cows come home. No, it's full of self-hatred.
I'm not surprised. I just okay, let's keep going.
No,
Dutton
we're
is
done.
right.
No,
Oh,
we're done.
Okay, this guy
Yeah.
just sounds like he sounds like, you know, those videos where they're people who have been kidnapped by terrorist organizations and then they're told to say stuff.
Yes, this is what he looks like.
This is what he looks like. They
my-
look like they just sort of cleaned him up a bit before they shoved him in front of the camera.
Yeah, my computer's gonna die within 5 minutes. So
All right. Okay, then we didn't even get a single super chat. What's up with you guys today?
Well,
It's fine. It's the beginning of the
shame
month.
on them. Shame
Yeah.
on them.
Well, they're probably sleeping off Halloween. Although they did put in lots of super chows and rumble rants, so that's good. All right.
Check.
So I don't have the monthly fundraiser up now because it's a little early, but when it is up, it'll be at feedthebadger.com/support. If you want to chat to us about any part of this that we just talked about, you can do so at feedthebadger.com/justthetip to keep the conversation going. That's feedthebadger.com/justthetip. Best way to send us a tip, and best way for you to send us a comment as well, because it doesn't disappear into YouTube's comment labyrinth. I don't have a good metaphor today. Just labyrinth of knives. Okay, and unless you and Brian have anything further to say, I'll just hand it back to Brian.
I'm done.
Yeah, I'm done too.
Done. Okay.
I'm
Well,
good.
if you guys like this video, please hit like, subscribe if you're not already subscribed. Hit the bell for notifications. Leave us a comment. Let us know what you guys think about what we discussed on the show today. And please, please, please share this video because sharing is caring. Thank you guys so much for coming on today's episode of the Rantzerker. And we'll talk to you guys in the next.
Men's rights activists are machines, dude. Okay? They are literal machines. They are talking point machines. They are impossible to fucking deal with, especially if you have like a couple dudes who have good memory on top of that too. Holy shit, you're fucked.